From a grim milestone to questions about wasted taxpayer dollars, Fox 45 News taking a closer look at some of the biggest problems the city is facing right now. The Ravens win their fourth straight game. It wasn't always pretty, but they got the job done. Plenty of reaction coming up on Sports Unlimited.
And tied up for a record high minimum today with a high of only 38. I'll let you know if we break a record tonight for the record low. My Weather Authority forecast.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary Bubala. Fox 45 News is digging into some of the biggest problems facing Baltimore right now. We're following the money as the city makes some big decisions when it comes to using your tax dollars. Why some people are sounding alarm bells about the plan to give some city leaders a lifetime pension for part-time work. And coming up at 10:15, the Baltimore Business Journal is reporting the city will pay Squeegee kids up to $15 an hour for up to 35 hours a week as part of the Squeegee collaborative plan. We're hearing from some who say that's not the best use of federal funds. But we begin with a depressing statistic. Baltimore City sees 300 lives lost to violence for an 8th year in a row. Riel Creighton joins us live with more on the latest victim. Riel?
And Mary, it is a tragic milepost that the city seems to sail past every single year now for the better part of a decade. But it is also so important to understand that as these numbers climb, there is very real suffering behind each and every one of those numbers. And tonight we got to see the face of Baltimore's 300th victim.
And that's just a little bit of it. I mean, I can go all day on.
For Steve Brandon, his friend was so much more than a number.
I kind of almost felt numb.
But he also understands his death is a defining moment for his city.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a big number. And it's just sad that I got a friend as a milestone and stuff like that. And like we wouldn't even be having this interview if he would have been like 261 or something like that.
His friend, Baltimore's 300th homicide. The picture he shared of the man he identified as William Vincent, better known to everyone as Willie. Police say gunned down just before 10:30 Saturday, Brandon says, in his own Cherry Hill neighborhood.
It's hard because I know he was trying to change it.
The deadly shooting that took the life, he says, of a soon-to-be father, recently released from prison, who was trying so desperately to be better for himself and his child.
Since he found out he was about to have a baby and stuff, he said he was going to, work on the family and stay out of trouble.
He saw him lying there.
That's not nothing that's supposed to be normal to a person, but I was just telling people, like, that's not the first, second, or third time I didn't, been in that situation.
The situation that makes Brandon himself so emblematic of a profound tragedy unfolding. For him, it's generational. So many family and friends murdered. He was close to Willie because he says Willie was his little brother's best friend before he was also shot and killed in this neighborhood too at just 14.
My father was killed out here in 2007, and then my brother was murdered in 2008.
For Baltimore, it's the loss of hope this year would be different. The loss of another soul to gun violence. Repeated more than 300 times over for so many across the city. It's also what Brandon says he's lost.
Like, he was a friend. Like for a while, it was like there wasn't no real friends out here.
And the magnitude, if you can even understand this, is even greater. He says that he had actually just gone to a funeral that morning for another friend who had been shot and killed in the city. Tonight, Baltimore stands at 301 people murdered so far this year. Reporting live in Baltimore tonight, Riel Creighton, Fox 45 News.
Riel, thank you. We're going to take a look at some of the other faces and stories behind these numbers. The first murder victim this year was 17-year-old Bernard Thomas, better known as Mushka. He was killed in a triple shooting on New Year's Day.
Mushka was just everything. He impacted this whole city. Everyone loved him. Everyone know him. I just miss my son.
Another victim, 16-year-old Desmond Canada, was also killed in that shooting. Just weeks after that, popular Little Italy restaurant manager Chesley Patterson was killed in Fells Point. Hours later, wife and mother Cheryl McCormick was killed in what witnesses call a robbery turned deadly while she was helping a friend deliver food for DoorDash.
Yes, I'm pissed off about Chesley getting killed for no reason. But the reason I'm pissed off about him because I know him. He was close to my heart. but there's a lot of good people getting killed every day.
It's incredible that someone would take a life over a T-Mobile phone that's worth not even $50.
Well, suspects in both of these murders were eventually arrested. In April, 30-year-old Marco Nunez was gunned down outside of a bar in Fells Point. At the time, a friend told Fox 45 that Nunez was just getting off the phone with his wife when the shooting happened.
Next thing you know, I just see Marco on the ground, and he's bleeding out, like he's bleeding out.
Nunez left behind young children. In September, 17-year-old high school football player Jeremiah Brogdon was shot and killed during dismissal at Merville High School. The boys' coach told Fox 45 News the incident sent shockwaves through the whole school.
I mean, we've really been focusing a lot on sticking together. We've been focusing a lot on praying for his family, Jeremiah's family. We've been talking about the importance of just how precious life is.
As Riel mentioned, the deadly violence not stopping today. Police say a 25-year-old man was shot and killed along St. Benedict Street in southwest Baltimore. That happened just after 4:30 this afternoon, marking the city's 301st murder this year. Since 2015, at least 2,663 people have lost their lives to violence in Baltimore City. That is more than the number of U.S. military deaths during Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan, according to statistics from the Department of Defense. The Baltimore City Police Union speaking out about the 300 murders, saying the department has seen 170 police officers leave the force this year alone. The union says overall the department is down 600 officers than it was when the murder rate was under 200 a decade ago. The FOP says Mayor Scott has ignored its retention plan ideas and urges citizens to, quote, elect new leaders who understand that without public safety as a priority, nothing can flourish. Well, we want to know what you think. Do you think city leaders need to be more urgent about violent crime? So far, 95% of voters say yes. Head to foxbaltimore.com/vote to weigh in. Well, tomorrow, Baltimore City Council will vote on a plan to give lifetime pensions to elected leaders after serving just 8 years in office. Right now, elected leaders have to serve 12 years to get a pension. Before that vote happens, one group will speak out against the plan. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost is breaking down the fast-tracked plan and why some first responders are blasting the council.
Fast-tracked through City Hall. City Council President Nick Mosby's plan to make city leaders eligible for a pension after 8 years instead of 12 could become reality soon. Mosby claims the plan is tied to Question K, the ballot proposal implementing term limits on city leaders.
No, I'm not trying to make it anything easier. I think the city, because of your station, that's why we're here. Your station pushed for this referendum.
The voters approved it. More than 70% of Baltimore City voters approved Question K on Election Day. And the reality is the term limits won't take effect right away. David Williams, president of the Taxpayers Protection Alliance, warns city taxpayers could be on the hook for a lifetime of benefits for part-time work.
I mean, you can look at someone who's 40 years old, becomes a city council member at 48. They're receiving a pension for the rest of their lives, which could be 30 to 40 years.
Looking at the data using city numbers, just over 8,000 city employees get a pension, and nearly 4,000 fire and police employees earn a pension. After a nearly decades-long legal battle, the city changing the requirements for first responders going from 20 years to 25 before becoming eligible for their pension, while elected leaders could become eligible at 8 years.
And that's the part that really, it's a tough pill to swallow. And that's what it's got a lot of us upset.
It's a discrepancy that doesn't sit well with the president of the Retired Police Officers Association.
To me, that's buttoning the line. A lot of retirees live paycheck to paycheck or pension check to pension check.
A notion Nick Mosby disagrees with.
The voters ultimately decided that that's what they want, that they want their elected leaders to work only 8 years, 2 terms. So the pension is consistent with that regulation.
While the council will be voting for their own pension plans, the Bureau of Labor Statistics show from 1980 to 2008, pension participation fell from 38% to 20% among the U.S. workforce.
A lot of cities are recognizing that it's what some of the workers want. They want a 401k. They want other options to invest their money in. and it's more stable. And it's really a win-win for taxpayers and the city workers because they're getting a better return and it's not a burden on taxpayers.
Mosby's bill went from first committee hearing to passage on second reader in 2 weeks.
Tied on the bumper of a speeding car, I mean, as fast as it went through.
Even with concerns from inside City Hall, seen here in this memo where the director of the Retirement Savings Plan wrote, quote, while it may not be unconstitutional, it is highly unusual for elected officials to enhance their benefits while in term. The first responders aren't the only ones upset about Mosby's plan.
So you're getting paid for nothing?
Fox 45 News speaking with some of the same people who would be footing the bill.
It's not fair at all. It feels like they only worried about money. And that's all they talk about.
Frustration about making it easier for elected leaders to earn a pension from the people of Baltimore, while the people representing them are poised to pass it anyway. Mayor Brandon Scott has yet to indicate whether he will sign this plan, but if it does make it to his desk, he would have the option to sign it or veto it. If he decides to veto this plan, it would take 10 votes in support to override that veto. When this plan passed on second reader inside City Hall, it got 9 votes of support. In Baltimore, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Former mayoral candidate and community activist Bob Wallace has also been outspoken about his problems with the pension plan. He's part of the group set to speak out against it tomorrow.
This is both shameful and short-sighted. I think that when looking at these kinds of decisions, I think there are 2 questions you have to ask yourself. Number one is this legislation, is it beneficial and helpful to the people of Baltimore City? That's the first question. And then the second question is it affordable? Can we pay for it? And I think in both cases, the answer has been no. It doesn't benefit the people of Baltimore City, and they haven't done their due diligence to determine if it is affordable. Our pension fund right now is fully funded. But what is to say that we make this change and then it becomes unfunded in a city that's already struggling to increase its revenues to pay for increased costs?
As Mackenzie mentioned, this pension bill was introduced by Council President Nick Mosby. Zeke Cohen and Ryan Dorsey voted against the measure. 3 members, Mark Conway, Eric Costello, and Felicia Porter, abstained from the vote. 9 other members supported the bill. The bill now faces 1 more vote on Monday before heading to the mayor's desk. Fox 45 News will have complete coverage of tomorrow's vote and the news conference in protest of the pension plan. You can watch that news conference live on Fox 45 News at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. The City Council vote is expected tomorrow night at 5. Stay tuned to Fox 45 News at 10 for an in-depth analysis of the vote and what it means for Baltimore.
It just feels naive. It feels a dollar short and a day late.
Criticism for the mayor's Squeegee collaborative plan as new details come to light. Why some say paying Squeegee kids $15 an hour won't do much to fix the problem. A night of terror in Colorado. A gunman opened fire on a nightclub, killing 5 and hurting more than a dozen others. What we're learning about the suspect and a possible motive. Well, turning now to another concern for Baltimore taxpayers. The Baltimore Business Journal is reporting the city will pay Squeegee workers up to $15 an hour for up to 35 hours a week. That's more than twice the federal minimum wage. It means Squeegee kids could take home a salary of up to $525 a week. It is part of the mayor's Squeegee collaborative plan announced earlier this month. When it was announced, the mayor said Squeegee kids would be paid to participate in workforce training programs. The Business Journal reports the money will come from the American Rescue Plan funds. Experts we spoke with today say they're not sure it will be successful.
Obviously, the mayor wants to do something about the problem with the Squeegee kid. Throwing money at it doesn't necessarily solve that problem. And just spending the money doesn't mean it's successful.
The Squeegee workers, so many of them appreciate the fact that they come when they want, they leave when they want, they make $30 to $70 an hour tax-free. It's hard to compete with that. So one of the things you have to do, if you want to realistically encourage them to get off the streets and get on a better path, you need to actually tell them that being on the streets is not an option. And that requires a component of enforcement.
The Squeegee collaborative plan does ban Squeegee kids from 6 parts of the city, but it's not clear how that will be enforced. Commissioner Harrison says some Squeegee kids will be issued a citation after warnings, but it's not clear what that citation will be for or how police will keep track of them. You can find more about the Squeegee collaborative plan on our website, foxbaltimore.com. Well, 4 Baltimore City teenagers and a 12-year-old are in custody in connection with an armed carjacking in Ocean City. Police say it happened early Friday morning. They say the victim told officers he was standing near his vehicle when 3 suspects hit him in the back of the head and stole the car. Officers found the car a few blocks away, but police say the suspects got away in 3 separate vehicles. Police were able to find all 3 vehicles, including the one that was stolen. Well, developing now, 5 people are dead. 18 others are hurt after a mass shooting in an LGBTQ nightclub in Colorado. It happened late Saturday night into this morning at Club Q in Colorado Springs. The suspected gunman has been identified as 22-year-old Anderson Lee Aldrich. He's in custody.
Every person, regardless of who they are, have the right to be secure from fear and physical harm. And actions taken to strike fear in specific communities will not be tolerated in our community.
The shooting comes 6 years after the deadly mass shooting at the Pulse nightclub in Orlando, Florida. 49 people died and 53 others were hurt in that shooting. Right now, Colorado Springs police are investigating this latest incident as a potential hate crime. Well, heavy snow is expected to keep piling up in western New York State through the night and even into tomorrow. The state has already logged record snowfall, totaling as much as 6 feet since snow started falling Thursday. Some places picked up more than 72 inches of snow, an historic number for a region that's used to plenty of the fluffy stuff. The storm has made travel in the region dangerous, triggering road closures, driving bans, and flight cancellations the weekend before Thanksgiving. Well, snow, not a concern here, thankfully, but certainly the cold is, right? It's cold out there. Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Myers here with our temperatures out there.
Yeah, and kind of interesting. It's the cold that we're seeing that has fostered all that lake snow. It really needs that Arctic air coming over the relatively warmer waters of the Great Lakes to get that snow going in those bands. And as that snow comes up and over the mountains, it just disappears. We did get a little bit of that sprinkle and snow shower and flurry activity late last week. Some of the first flakes of the season well northwest of the city. If you saw some of the pictures of Westminster Way, I believe that was Friday evening, had some of that. Well, the interesting, I guess, story around here has been the temperature trend over the past month. Take a look at this. I did some research. I thought with such a cold day today, running 18 degrees below where it should be for this time of year, and in fact, a new record high minimum, or at least a tied record high minimum at 38 degrees. Might be kind of interesting to take a look back at some of the temperatures, and even I was surprised by this. In fact, we may have forgotten because the past 8 days have actually been below average. But earlier in the month, we had a solid 7 days of 70 plus, and 2 of those days were 80 plus degrees. And in fact, we are still, if we don't include today, that hasn't been factored in yet, but running about 5 degrees above average on the temperature for the month. And it looks like we're going to start going back up on the temperature. So even after all this, I think we're going to have a November that is actually above average. 26 right now. Winds are calm, humidity at 50%. Temperatures already on the fall, well into the 20s to near 30. Going to have to do some scraping tomorrow morning. We're headed to near record lows with a wind chill of now 20 at Westminster, 25 at Stevensville. Bel Air, you're at 27 on the real field temperature. Still there, those lake effect snow bands coming off of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, not affecting Buffalo as much now, more so up into northern and western PA and southwestern New York State, and then up toward Watertown in New York State. We are clear and near record cold tonight, but notice fair weather high pressure on the western side. It gets warmer. And that's what's going to be happening over the next several days into Thanksgiving. So any travels tomorrow morning, it's going to be cold, down around or, well, actually just below freezing as we go well through the morning, probably settling to near 20 tonight. And by tomorrow afternoon, 46 is going to feel warm after the 38 we had today. 24 tonight, clear skies and frigid. The record standing from 1951, back down at 16. 47 tomorrow, still heavy jacket weather. And look, by Thanksgiving, finally back to the 50s. Next chance of rain develops for Black Friday.
Jonathan, thank you. The chaos at Twitter continues. Thousands of employees are laid off or they quit. Where the platform goes from here, especially now that former President Trump's account is back online. After nearly 2 years of suspension, former President Donald Trump is allowed back on Twitter. It is the latest change on the platform since billionaire Elon Musk took ownership. The future of Twitter seems uncertain as thousands of staffers are either laid off or quit. National correspondent Atra El-Nashar has the latest.
A tweet from Elon Musk posted Friday afternoon sums up what many are wondering. What should Twitter do next? On Saturday night, one answer to that question, allow former President Trump back on Twitter, ending a suspension that began after January 6th. Musk says he made the decision based on this poll. While Trump encouraged people to vote in the poll, he says he's sticking to Truth Social instead of switching back to Twitter.
I don't see it because I don't see any reason for it.
He's not the only one keeping a distance or at least considering it. CBS News resumed tweeting Sunday morning after the network said it assessed security concerns, stating this Friday.
In light of the uncertainty around Twitter and out of an abundance of caution, CBS News is pausing its activity on the social media site as it continues to monitor the platform.
Other journalists weighing a departure from the platform, which would be a significant shift if it happens en masse. Twitter's become a newswire of sorts for outlets big and small and for local authorities to issue updates in real time, like the Buffalo Police Department during the recent snowstorm. According to Pew Research, only 23% of U.S. adults use Twitter, compared to 69% on Facebook. Over the weekend, Musk asking any employee who can code software to return to headquarters for last-minute meetings. Can Twitter keep its users through the transition and changes Musk plans to implement, like a Twitter Blue subscription fee that includes a verified blue check? Trump among those open about their doubts.
They have a lot of problems at Twitter. You see what's going on. It may make it, it may not make it, but the problems are incredible. The engagements are negative, and you have a lot of bots and you have a lot of fake accounts.
Musk, who also runs Tesla and SpaceX, says he plans to reduce the time he spends running Twitter and find a new leader. Who that will be, one of many unanswered questions about the future of Twitter. In Washington, I'm Atrell Nashar reporting.
The U.S. has spent trillions on COVID-related aid. Tonight, a look at one of the biggest COVID scams. We have spent trillions of tax dollars on COVID-related aid and health care. Tonight, Full Measure Shell Atkinson looks at some of the massive fraud caught up in it all.
When COVID hit, the government made temporary changes so it would be easier for older people on Medicare to get health care at home. Telehealth can help. Some of the changes involved telehealth, seeing doctors online instead of at the office. Fraudsters quickly found ways to exploit that shortcut, according to Omar Perez Ibar. He's special agent in charge of the Inspector General's Office for Health and Human Services. Perez helped ferret out a major Florida kickback scheme centered on genetic testing.
Genetic testing, it's a test that uses your own DNA
to determine if you have a predisposition for one of the suites of the genetic tests that are out there. In this particular case, they were focused on cancer genetic testing.
Normally, a doctor orders any medically necessary genetic tests only after an in-person medical exam. But during COVID, in-person visits weren't required in order for the doctor to get paid by Medicare. Scamsters began recruiting patients at malls, churches, door-to-door or on the phone, convincing them to get genetic testing they didn't need by claiming it was free or giving them gift cards or prepaid cell phones. Labs collected big payments from Medicare and gave illegal cash kickbacks to the recruiters. Before COVID, Perez and his team were already looking at a dozen genetic test labs involved in a case they built called Operation Double Helix, referring to DNA structure. That case led to a focus on two men, Michael Stein and Lionel Palatnik. Prosecutors claim Stein arranged for doctors to authorize cancer and heart genetic test orders on patients they never saw in person and sent them on to Palatnik's labs in exchange for kickbacks.
What kind of money are we talking about for a test like that?
So we saw the average payment for that is about $7,000. Wow. But we saw it as low as $4,000 and as high as $15,000.
No wonder they were trying this out.
It's very lucrative.
Palatnik stood out, Perez says, because of how much his medical test lab business exploded during COVID. A special strike force for healthcare fraud has charged a total of more than 4,200 people who billed Medicare more than $19 billion.
If you specifically maneuver yourselves, right, to take advantage of the population's most vulnerable victims, we're going to come after you.
The defendant Stein has pleaded not guilty and is scheduled for trial next spring. For Full Measure, I'm Cheryl Atkinson.
And you can watch Full Measure Sundays on Fox 45 at 10 a.m. Well, we keep saying it. It wasn't pretty, but the Ravens found a way to get it done, winning their fourth straight. Rocco and Alex recap the 13-3 victory ahead on Sports Unlimited. A good cause at the Ravens game today, a prescription drug take-back event. Maryland Attorney General Brian Frost joined forces with the DEA to take unused and unwanted medications for free today. Frost says it's important these drugs are disposed of properly.
It's dangerous to keep them at home. People can take them, get addicted, and create a really bad habit. So an opportunity to get rid of those is really important.
Even the AG was bundled up today. Cold out there. That's all the news at 10. I'm Mary Bubala. Thanks so much for watching. Rocco DeSangro and Alex Parker join us now with Sports Unlimited. Rocco and Alex.
Yeah, Mary, what's going on? Defense wins championships, and on a chilly day in Charm City, the Ravens turned up the heat on Baker Mayfield and the Panthers en route to a 13-3 win.
While the defense was wide awake, the offense never really got out of bed. A performance like this may not cut it against too many other teams.
Listen, Alex, you're absolutely right. It wasn't pretty through three quarters, but a win is a win nonetheless. Reaction from the Ravens' fourth straight victory coming up.
Plus, what this win means as we head down the stretch. We'll talk with Rob Long of 105.7's Big Bad Morning Show to get his perspective.
What a weekend for the Terps and their new head coach. With the undefeated streak continue, all of that and more coming up next on Sports Unlimited. Mark Andrews back, Gus Edwards inactive, and Lamar Jackson healthy. Near freezing temperatures at M&T Bank Stadium. The Ravens' offense was pretty cold as well. Defense brought the hand warmers and the winter coats because they were steaming hot from the jump. Hello and welcome into a brand new edition of Sports Unlimited. He's Alex Parker. I'm Rocco DeSangro. They don't ask how, they ask how many. And no matter how pretty or ugly it may have been, a win is a win is a win.
That is right, Rocco. The Ravens grinded this thing out. Defense played out of its mind. Offense, not so much, but at the end of the day, it was the Ravens winning their fourth straight ball game. Here's how they got it done.
Let's jump right into it. The wind and cold were absolutely to be reckoned with this afternoon. The Ravens defense came out pumped against a not-so-potent Panthers offense. Patrick Queen sacks Baker Mayfield. Problem was, the Ravens offense couldn't get anything going either. Kenyon Drake stuffed for a loss. It was scoreless after one second quarter. Roquan Smith playing his first home game in Baltimore wrecks this play. Patrick Queen finishes it off. The Ravens defense and inside linebackers dominant early on. Still second quarter, the Ravens in Panthers territory and threatening, but Lamar Jackson picked up by the big fella in the middle. That's Braven Roy, still scoreless midway through the second. The Ravens' best offensive play in the first half was this. Lamar to Demarcus Robinson. That was good for 31 yards, and it set this up. Justin Tucker, 32 yards out. That's automatic. No problems there. The Ravens take a 3-0 lead on the last play of the half. Third quarter, Ravens offense still sputtering. Lamar under pressure. He's sacked by Frankie Louvu. Carolina got the ball back and put together their only drive. This big play was this Mayfield to Terrace Marshall Jr. hookup. That led to a field goal to tie it at 3. Later in the third, Lamar, Demarcus Robinson again for 20 yards. What a game D-Rob had. And it looked like the Ravens were in business for at least a field goal, but the drive stalled after a face mask penalty. Lamar sacked by Brian Burns. The Ravens would punt, and it was tied at 3 heading into the fourth. After the Ravens took a 3-point lead on another Tucker field goal, the defense made a huge play to swing this game. Marcus Peters going to strip Shi Smith. The offense, or the officials rather, would take a look and rule a clear recovery. Ravens ball, no advance. On to the next play. Kenyon Drake takes a draw play inside 28 yards. That goes inside the 5, and then Lamar Jackson going to keep it himself. He scores the first touchdown of the day. The Ravens go up 13-3, and the Ravens defense took care of business from there. Marlon Humphrey makes a great break on the ball, picks off Mayfield to seal the deal. The Ravens win at 13-3. They've won 4 straight to improve to 7-3. Big win for the Ravens. Let's check out that final score again. Right here. Ravens get the win, 13-3. The offense really fed off the defensive turnover in the fourth, scoring on the ensuing possession. Their only touchdown of the game. Lamar finished 24-33, 240 total yards. A rushing touchdown and a pick. Marlon Humphrey with a pick and a fumble recovery. Coach Harbaugh, floor is yours.
Proud of our guys. I think it was a workmanlike win. It was a team win. It wasn't pretty, but our defense stepped up in a big way. I mean, controlling the run and getting the turnovers. Offense was able to maintain time of possession. We could have done better at the end of the fourth quarter to put it away, certainly, but I thought they got the key score in the fourth quarter that separated us. That was big, and then special teams was solid.
The Ravens defense was dominant, and that's an understatement. 4 sacks, 2 interceptions, and a fumble recovery. More turnovers than a bakery. And getting those turnovers was obviously a huge reason they held the Panthers to just 3 points. And holding a team out of the end zone, it's something that Mike McDonald's unit definitely takes pride in.
Yeah, last night we were talking as a defense, Mike asked us, what are we thinking about going to this game? And, everybody said the same thing. We wanted to have a goose egg today. So, obviously 3, you can't be too mad with 3, but, we're really trying to chase, past Ravens defense in the past that have just showed elite greatness. So that's kind of what we're chasing. And, we're looking better and better every week.
Patrick Queen said preseason he wanted to take a big step in year 3. He tried to warn everyone, and he's done just that. He's played like royalty, and he played like royalty in the win, leading the team with 12 tackles, registering a tackle for a loss and a half a sack. Queen was all over the field, and John Harbaugh sung his praises following the big win.
It's just fantastic. I mean, he comes in here, and it's just fantastic. I mean, he was all over the field. You said it. And in the run, in the pass, tackling in open field, tackling with the guy blocking him in the back while he's blocking him in the back. Those kind of plays are just amazing plays. And Patrick Queen's been playing great football, and today just took another step in that direction.
It felt incredible. It felt like Ravens football, honestly. Offense wasn't at the standard at the beginning of the game, and then they finally picked it up at the end and put points on the board, and then we just kept going out there doing our thing, and we wasn't even focused about the offense. We were just on defense talking about let's do our job. Simple as that.
Let's flip to the offensive side of the ball. Dismal performance from the Ravens, though. This unit is capable of better, and we've seen them play better. But there was one bright spot offensively. Demarcus Robinson, season highs in catches and receiving yards, 9 receptions for 128 yards, and while he didn't find the end zone, he played a huge factor in the win. And with Rashad Bateman done for the year, D-Rob talked about his mindset going forward.
Just to be able to step up, gather the guys around in our room and tell them it's on us because, he was our first-round pick a couple years ago, last year. And so, yeah, we just got to step up in that room and try to make plays for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's big. It's just big. It's massive. Here's a guy that gets an opportunity like he does and comes in here and he just does nothing but go to work the first day and work as hard as he can every day to be as good as he can be, and it pays off.
So our Twitter question of the day, on the heels of today's win, are you more or less confident that this team can make a deep run in the playoffs? I'm on Twitter, @RoccoDeSangro. I'll share some of your thoughts later in the show. So Roquan Smith got his first taste of M&T Bank Stadium as a member of the home team. Smith getting the chance to see what Ravens flock is all about, and it did not disappoint. I caught up with him one-on-one following his home debut. Big 13-3 win for you guys. You held the offense out of the end zone. How good does that feel for you guys as a defense being able to do that?
It feels amazing, man. To
hold an offense in this league to no touchdowns is major. And so, yeah, it was big time, and it was a great performance by the defense, and just excited to keep getting better.
What was your first game like in front of the home crowd at M&T Bank Stadium? Could you feel the energy?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It was pretty amazing. Like the guys, I said earlier to some guys, like it was crazy because I seen Lamar out there a little bit trying to tell the people to lower it down a little bit. So it was a little nippy out there, but they still came ready to go. So that's a great deal. I'm excited to be here, and I'm happy to see those guys cheering us on.
When you guys force a turnover defensively and it leads to an offensive touchdown, how much does that fire you up on the sidelines?
Oh, it's amazing. Playing complementary football, those guys taking advantage of their mistakes, and when you do that, good things tend to happen.
What was clicking today for you guys defensively as a whole?
I think it was just playing together and not getting complacent, even once we had the lead. Even though it was a tight ball game all throughout, felt like a December game, January game, when teams just want to run the ball. So it was great just being able to stand in there and, take punch for punch. So it was great, and we came out on top.
All right, thanks, Roquan. Two injuries of note. Safety Kyle Hamilton left the game with what the team says is a knee injury. He did not return. And offensive tackle Ronnie Stanley left the game with what the team is saying is an ankle injury. Stanley has missed a lot of time due to that injury. His road back has been well documented. Coach Harbaugh did not have any updates regarding either player immediately following the game. Lamar, though, he said that Stanley, he's all good. Let's bring in Alex Parker again. Alex, 13 points ain't going to cut it against top-tier teams in this league, plain and simple. I sound like Captain Obvious, but it needs to be said.
I hear you, Rocco. Listen, would this have held up against maybe the Bengals or the Chiefs or some high-powered teams like the Bills? Probably not. They didn't play those teams today. They played the Panthers today. There's that expression in sports, styles make fights. Maybe if the Panthers had put some offense together, maybe the Ravens would have felt some more mojo, urgency, something. They did what they had to do. There are a ton of teams out there that would love to be 7-3 and worried about the offense not being productive enough. This team has a history of great defense. Frankly, they've won titles with teams that couldn't score. This team, I think, will score more down the stretch. We will have more on the Ravens win throughout the show. Elsewhere in the AFC North, the Bengals at the Steelers. Cincinnati, they didn't have any trouble scoring points. Joe Burrow threw for 355 yards, 4 touchdowns. Running back Samaje Perine had 3 of those. Perine converting little short passes into big scores. Bengals going to beat the Steelers 37-30. Cincy has won 4 of 5 since losing at Baltimore in Week 5. Browns and Bills, this was supposed to be there, but all of that happens. It was moved from there to Detroit, where it was nice and warm and kind of toasty. Josh Allen, how open is Stephon Diggs on this? Has anybody seen anybody covering Stephon Diggs of late? That gave the Bills the lead for good. Buffalo wins this thing 31-23. They improved to 7-3. They'll play in Detroit again on Thanksgiving Day. So the Ravens stay atop the AFC North at 7-3. Bengals are a game back. This is clearly a 2-horse race. Steelers and Browns are both 3-7. How about Taylor Heineke and the Commanders? Come on now. At Houston, they were still introducing the offense. Here's who plays for the Texans. And then that happened. That's Kendall Fuller, pick 6. Commanders scored early. They scored often. They never looked back. This is Curtis Samuel, little 10-yard thing for a touchdown. 23-10 was the final. Washington was 1-4. They've now won 5 of 6. They're a game over 500. The magic of Taylor Heineke continues.
That it does, Alex. The Terps locked in with undefeated Miami in the Basketball Hall of Fame tip-off title game. Perhaps Kevin Willard's first championship in College Park.
And he is never without an opinion. What does the great Rob Long of 105.7 The Fan think about today's Ravens performance when Sports Unlimited rolls on?
Welcome back to Sports Unlimited, the Kevin Willard era in College Park. It's off to a historic start. Saturday, he became the first coach in program history to begin his tenure with 4 straight wins. You know what's better than 4? How about 5? Terps battling another undefeated. This time it's the U in the Basketball Hall of Fame championship tip-off game. Second half, Terps up 16. Juju Reese with a big block, and we saw this against St. Louis. Leads to a Jameer Young deep 2. Dante Scott led the way with 24. Reese added 17, and the Terps rout the Canes 88-70. They're 5-0 on the year. Rank them. How about the Maryland women's basketball team? Huge win over a ranked Baylor team that was number 17 in the country. Diamond Miller, simply incredible. The senior with a game-high 32 points, adding 10 rebounds in the 73-68 win.
So back to football. How much stock to put in today's Ravens win? Great on defense, not so much on offense. Earlier I spoke with Rob Long of 105.7's Big Bad Morning Show. Rob Long, thank you so much for joining us this evening on Sports Unlimited. Your thoughts, Rob Long, on a not very attractive, but a win is a win is a win kind of win from the Baltimore Ravens today?
It wasn't very attractive, to be honest with you. I'm with you, Alex. A win is a win is a win. But when you start stacking up how you win games to advance to the playoffs, this is a good win to get to the playoffs. But my question is, and I have to ask this question, is this a win that can get you advanced to the playoffs? And I don't know about that. I saw some things today that really made me offensively wonder how deep this team can go once again.
It's funny you should say that. Our Twitter question is something to the effect of, does today make you more or less confident that this team can make a deep run come playoffs? What are your concerns, Rob? I know offense in general looked awful today. I'd like to think wind had a little to do with that. Your biggest concerns, I guess, offensively, what do you think?
First of all, it makes me question whether they can. It doesn't give me a final answer to that. My biggest concern is what they can do in the passing game, to be honest with you. This team settled a lot. You look at the amount of attempts versus the yards that Lamar Jackson had. They settled a lot in the passing game, and that makes me question what they can do. You've got to throw the football. I don't care how cold it is. People keep saying, you got to run the football in the playoffs. Yeah, but the passing quarterbacks are the ones that advance. Pat Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Matthew Stafford. Those guys pass the football, throw the football. Yes, you have to be able to run the football, but can you effectively have a passing game? I'm not sure whether the passing game, the inefficiencies is Lamar Jackson or strategy, to be honest with you, because I see a lot of the same things happening. It seems to be that the Ravens don't have a game plan. They have an agenda. This is what we're going to do. Well, what if the defense does something else? Doesn't matter. This is what we're going to do. That's not a plan. That's an agenda.
Rob Long, I appreciate you taking the time. I hope you and your family have a wonderful, happy, healthy Thanksgiving. We appreciate you. All the best. We'll talk again soon.
Alex, you are the man. Thank you very much, and have a happy Thanksgiving.
Awesome stuff right there. Still ahead, one heck of a defensive performance for the Ravens. We go one-on-one with Calais Campbell as the big man takes us through the win. Calais Campbell returned for his 15th NFL season because he truly believes that this group has what it takes to win a Super Bowl. Offensively, they need some work, especially after today's performance. Defensively, they held the Panthers to just 3 points. And as a leader, he's really proud of his guys. Calais, how does it feel defensively when you hold a team out of the end zone like you guys did today against the Panthers?
You know, we played a good football game. I mean, they played hard. They were, you know, that's a football team, fighting for a chance to get back in their division race, playing for the coach, you know, and they got a lot of playmakers, you know. So, you know, we knew it was going to be a scrappy game, and you know, we had to go out there and play good football. And you know, I feel like, you know, they made a couple plays, and then we came back and made a couple plays, and I think, you know, it was huge to get those turnovers. You know, we started getting sacks, you know, started making those big plays that changed ball games.
I know it's a loaded question, but do you feel like defensively this is your guys' best game yet this season?
Well, I mean, I got to watch the tape and really get a feel for it. But, you know, it's a lower scoring game, and this is a result-oriented business. So, you know, you're home 3 points, you know, it has to be pretty good. So the biggest thing is, though, is just staying in the moment. You know, we get to celebrate it for 24 hours. We get to watch the tape, you know, make the corrections we need to make, you know, enjoy seeing guys make plays, and then, you know, move on to the next week.
Calais, you had a sack. You guys were getting sacks, turnovers, forced fumbles, fumble recoveries, interceptions, everything. The list is loaded on that turnover list. How good does it feel, though, as a defense, watching your offense on the sideline after you guys force a turnover, score a touchdown?
Oh, it's huge. You know, when we can get a turnover and the offense goes and gets 7, you know, that's you know, that's game of football. I mean, that's when you're at your best. You know, and so, you know, I mean, you know, statistically speaking, when you get those turnovers, momentum builds, offenses are going to score, and so that's huge. You know, we know with our offense, the more we get turnovers, the more they'll make plays, and so you just try to keep getting the ball in Lamar's hand and let him do what he does.
Calais, last thing I have for you. PQ said he wanted to take a big step in year 3. Have you seen him do so? Because he was all over the field today.
Yeah, man. You know, PQ's balling. You know, he's playing at a Pro Bowl level, really all-pro level. And, you know, he's motivated. You know, he shows up big in the run game, shows up big in the pass game. You know, he's a natural playmaker. And, you know, I mean, you know, you got to keep it going. You know, you know, you're only as good as your latest memory, though. So, you know, we got to do it again next week.
So our Twitter question of the day, we also put it on Facebook. Here's some of what you had to say on the heels of today's win. Are you more or less confident that this team can make a deep playoff run? Let's get to these responses right here. Kim says, I don't know what it is about this team, but I feel like there will be a few more years of being bridesmaids before they're finally perhaps a bride. I don't have reason for the opinion. I just don't see it happening. Tweet me at Rocco DeSangro. Your responses every week. We're going to post them on Twitter. Sorry we couldn't get to more this week. Up next for the Ravens at Jacksonville next Saturday. The Jaguars had a bye this week. A very good chance for the Ravens to make it 5 straight wins. He's Alex. I'm Rocco. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of Sports Unlimited. See you next week.